Greetings, everybody. So, this is a State of Team address for the month of October. It's also to answer questions that was asked last week during a team photo shoot event. We actually did another one today, and I'm hoping Sev will be able to make those needed edits. He could take his time with it, though. I'm in absolutely no rush for that. So, team's been going along perfectly fine. We've actually reached team level 45 recently, so we've gotten a new uniform. Let's see. Yep, there it is. We're actually discussing opening a poll for the team uniforms to maybe change them once a month, maybe change the colors of them. I know quite a few in the team likes their cosmetics, so I'm perfectly fine with that. I mean, I recruited officers for a reason, so they can make polls, make events of their own, change stuff to how they like. Makes no difference to me. They can even add stuff to my town if they so choose. As for myself, though, yes, I have been very, very busy. I've been trying to complete a few games, particularly the new Metaphor Fantasio. Very awesome game, by the way. But, a little easy for me since I have a lot of experience with the Persona and Shin Megami Tensei games. I've also been playing Dragon Quest Treasures finally on Steam, and I've been greatly enjoying that. It's simplistic, but it's a lot of fun to me. I will probably do a final boss battle video just for that one specifically. But yes, we also have the big one coming up, which is the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. And I will be making a complete video of that. Obviously, I will not record the parts where I'm just mindlessly grinding. I'll just be recording going from objective to objective, leaving the grinds out whenever I decide to grind. Typically, in a Dragon Quest game, well, for the older titles, up until 7, maybe, yeah, about 7, anytime I got to a new town, I would spend an hour or two grinding around it, or the places near it, just to get some gold, some levels, to afford all the best weapons and armor for the latest shop, before I would then continue with whatever the next objective is. I did that a lot less so in 8, 9, and 11. And more or less, I would just fight things that are along the way, especially in 9 and 11 when mobs would now then appear on the screen. I would just fight things along the way instead of running around and grinding for an hour or so. But for Dragon Quest III, I'll have to go back to what was traditional and classic. So I'll be leaving the grinding parts out of the videos I'll make. Yes, of course, I will be adding the uncensored mods that will undo the censorship that's been going on with it. Now, other than that, teams are going fine. We see new faces every now and then. Okay, we're not as highly active as Worldwide, obviously. This is just an alternate place that people could come to if they just prefer more of a quiet scene like what we got going on. That's perfectly fine. Me, honestly, I wish we could have more people on. You know, most I ever see on active at once in the team is maybe 12 of... No, I think the most was like 14, maybe 15 at one point. I mean, so very often we'll have at least 4 to 6 on active. Not many likes to talk, but that's perfectly fine. Again, Dragon Quest X is a casual, very, very solo-friendly MMORPG. It's not meant to be played constantly every single day, or you miss out on stuff. You can always come back and do whatever you want in it. proceed when the next story quest comes out. I still got a lot to do in it myself. I've just been busy with all these other games, and that's including the First Ascendant, and I'm still doing my EverQuest 2 journey, and that's going to take a while. Now for the questions. Yeah, this is what people were waiting for. I drew up a list of questions. It's 11 of them that people asked during the team photo meetup, and then of course those that people asked me either in my YouTube channels or through direct messaging on Discord. And I picked these 11 up because there's a lot to explain on them. The first one is, when will SC give us a permanent race change? Now, that's a bit of an odd question. See, the thing is about your race. Okay, unlike Final Fantasy XIV, for example, where you can change your race anytime you want, it will have no implication to the story. If you started off as a Mithra, and then you race change into the female Khajiit, doesn't matter. Because other than the very rare times in the story an NPC will refer to you as your race instead of your name or one of your many titles in 14, your race has absolutely no difference. Other than the weird camera angles and how NPCs look up or down at you if you're one of those smaller races like the female or the Lalafels. The female Ra and the Lalafels are basically the two smallest races in 14. But for DQX, it's the same issue as Final Fantasy XI. Your race is intricately tied to a lot of things in the back end. Basically, the kind of dialogue and story you get from the body of the tribal race that you took over. For me, it's Ogre, and I would have met him like a few times. You see, that all goes into like a flag of some sort. If you were an Ogre female, it will flag you for that particular Ogre female that you created for those cutscenes. It's hard-grained into the system. Why can't they just let you race change and then it'll just change to that? Well, that's a problem. Thing is, then it would have to change your special, starting village Zoomstone, which for my case it's Langao Village. It would have to change that, and it would have to basically change how the story would play out. It would have to change the back cutscene, and it would basically change your whole origin. And there's just too many flags and ways that could mess everything up for you that I believe Square Enix just didn't think it'd be worth putting in a system that would swap all this around if you decided to do a race change. Yet Final Fantasy XI has this very similar issue. So they might still do it in the future, especially if they do decide to release a new race, a new playable race. Again, this is why they haven't in the over 11-12 years Dragon Quest X has existed. It's because if they release a new race, man, I gotta adjust that shield. If they make a new race, they would have to provide some way for players to be able to change into that race permanently. That's why they've been reluctant to releasing popular races that players have wanted, like the Angel Celestial race or the Dragon race. Okay, next question. What is a good spot for gold grinding? Okay, so a little history with this. Back then, when the game was still in version 1 up to version 2, quite a lot of players would gather up and they would actually go grind particular enemies that did drop a decent amount of gold. Those are the jewel bags, back when they did drop a decent amount of gold, and they would also go after the golden golems. Because if you've noticed, especially if you're a long-time player, as you progress through the game, that the gold drops always seems to be anywhere between 20 to maybe 130 gold, and that just does not change, no matter how high level the enemies are. Square Enix basically did that, so that way you'd always have the gold needed to recruit new party members, to buy basic essential items like treasure hunter bells and evac bells and all that stuff, and to be able to pay for services like the synthesis shop and such. If you absolutely do no crafting or absolutely no fishing or anything like that, or do any luck or rare gods, and that's also why they put in the whole support gold thing, where you get gold given to you every week, and how much you get is based on your fame level. That there is just to be able to help you be able to actually play the game and not ever get stuck. Like, say you're so poor, you have like 10k gold, but you need party members, but you can't afford them, and you have no friends and no team. You're basically stuck solo until you try to make some gold. They put in preventive measures for that. So you can't really grind mobs for gold except in a few cases. Now, if you just don't want to craft, you just don't want to fish, and you don't want to do the casino to get luck and rare god medals to then try to get 3 others that has medals to do stuff, you know, to go grind gem slimes and get lotto tickets and get orbs to sell. And I've got a lot of tickets. If you don't want to do any of that, there actually is 2 things you could do if you want to just traditionally grind gold. And that is the Dragon Stones and the what was it? The Evil God Stones. The Dragon Stones are easier to do. And people do them all the time because those dragon bones or stones or fangs or whatever their clarity likes to call it right now, those are used in the version 3 super bosses for their accessories and glamours. And there are players constantly doing them all the time. To get those, you actually have to get a buff from one of the NPCs that safeguards those super bosses. You get the buff from him, and then you go fight elder dragons. The easier the better, to farm a whole bunch of them. So how this works is, you want to put on, you want to get that buff. I believe any item or accessory that gives you an increase in drop rate. Like, for example, one I'd ever really use. Let's see if I have it. I've got to clean this up. Where is it? Ah, here we go. Something like this might be able to help you. But it's not really necessary, but it does help, I believe. I'm just not sure if it's the rare drop rate or the normal drop rate for those fangs, since I never really farmed them much. I just went and did it on a whim, but noticed I was getting quite a lot of them. So you can get the buff and go grind on Elder Dragons, get on Monster Master for it, so you can call up to 15 of them in one fight. Take with you specific party members that won't totally wipe them out in one blow. but will kill them quickly enough so it's not a slog. And then you can farm those. You can get about maybe anywhere from 3 to 8 fangs or so per fight. And those fangs, I believe right now they sell for about 3,000 to 5,000 gold each. So, one 15 dragon fight can get you about anywhere from 30 to 40k in bones, and it takes about maybe 3 minutes per fight or less. That's one way to grind gold. It's pretty good profit. You just have to put them up for sale. They'll be bought. Just be sure to undercut everybody else. That's what I always do. So if you really don't want to fish, and you really don't want to craft, and you really don't want to do the casino thing, you can do that. You can also do the evil orbs. That I find a little harder because you have to fight specific demons for it. But those orbs are worth quite a bit too. That is a way you can make gold without having to do all the other methods of it. And obviously, going treasure hunting or hunting for materials, that's finite. Because you can only collect a certain amount of materials per day, but if you know the right spots, you could collect materials worth 5k, 10k, even 15k gold or so per material. And whenever I go out to grind, XP grind, I'm always in this one spot where there's blue chests and materials on the ground that's always spitting out stuff that's worth 8 to 15k gold a pop. So, if you want to make money in this game, it's actually real easy to do so. You just gotta figure out what you like doing best that will make you go insane. For me, it's fishing. Which I need to do a lot of very soon. Question 3. What do you think the next vocation will be? When will it be? Well, we're coming up to version 7.2. That is near the end of this month, I believe? I gotta do a lot of fishing before then. I didn't see any trailer or any notice of anything of the second vocation for this expansion. Every expansion always has at least 2 vocations come out. So far, we've had 2 of the new master classes for the whole master class system. I'm one right now, Guardian, which is essentially what a paladin should be. And we have Dragon Master, Dragomancer, everybody calls it something different. I just call it Dragomaster. Or Dragomancer. So, Guardian class is a defensive but balanced vocation that wears the heaviest armors, can use sword and shield, spear, great sword, all that. It's my ideal vocation. It suits my personality completely. It's basically the class I like playing. Then we have the Dragomancer class, which is the combination of an ornamentalist and a mage. They're able to transform into dragons to do powerful melee hits. They basically become frontline melee combatants when in dragon form, and then when they're out of dragon form, they become backline powerful mages capable of doing debuffs of basically the earth and fire element, and using earth and fire element magic spells that do damage. They can't reach that high damage cap like a pure mage can, but they have options compared to a mage, especially with that dragon form. So they can do a lot of damage if they want to. The funny thing though is, in the last runs of the Goddess Garden, I very rarely see Dragomancers, like ever. I see plenty of paladins, guardians, battle masters, ornamentalists, priests, the usuals. But I've very rarely been seeing Dragomancers lately, and I'm wondering what's up with that. But again, I've been digressing here. If they're going to say anything about what this new class is, they're probably going to say something before 7.3. If not, latest 7.4. Because 7.5 and then 7.55 are going to be the last two updates. They brought Guardian in sometime around 6.4 for the last expansion. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be 6.3 or 6.4, or no, 7.3, 7.4, when they announce and show off what a new vocation is. I think it's going to be a melee-focused vocation. Probably a combination of Battle Master and something else that can dual-wield, because we don't have anywhere near enough dual-wield vocations. I think we have like 3? One was Battle Master itself, Gladiator. The other was Dancer. And I forgot, it was either Thief or... yeah, I don't remember. I think we're due for a new vocation that can dual wield, something that can do damage near on par of Battle Master, but has other options as well. Others think it's going to be a new type of healer class. To be honest, I mean, we've got a lot of healer vocations already, but they're just not played enough. And that makes matchmaking for things like Defense Force hard. Actually, I gotta put in a Defense Force event for this month. I gotta remember to do that. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Question 4. Is crafting a must in this game? No, it's not. I mean... granted, you can make a lot of money if you dedicate to crafting. You got 3 character slots. You can get up to 5 if you want to spend the extra money to rent. But with those 3 slots, you could take up, say, armor crafting, lamp alchemy, and pot alchemy. And then you can use those alchemies to try to enhance any 3-star armor you make with highly valuable enchants. And if you and you could luck out and get something that's worth 20 to 30 million gold, or you could get bad luck and get something that's not worth the cost of all the mats you put into making that armor and enchanting it in the first place. See, it's a gamble for that particular crafting, but honestly, I've heard tale of players often getting either pretty much they break even or they make profit far more than they ever actually lose profit. It does take quite a lot of work, though. You will have to grind each of those crafting vocations. It takes time. Even in the crafting hall that lets you basically grind your crafts completely for free. It gives you all the materials you need, all the equipment, tools, and everything. You just can't take it out with you, but it lets you grind it for as much as you want. At least that's what I believe it's 1,000 crafts a week. It'll allow you to do that. It's 1,000 crafts though. That's a whole lot, especially if you're using bonus orbs and XP scroll. But if you really want to make a lot of money and you've got the patience and time for it, that's a way to do it. Alternatively, though, you can take safer crafts, tool crafting. Since everybody needs, tools aren't really honestly used that much, but there are some items that players will use. Culinary, though, if you really want a stable income, cooking, aka culinary, that's a way to go. Because I've seen a lot of Japanese players use foods. I've seen them use it in endgame stuff. I've seen them use it in minor stuff. I myself personally will use food now and then for the super bosses and give it to my NPCs as well if necessary. Those are good, stable incomes, because you will always sell them, and people will always buy them. Another good one to do is woodworking, carpentry. But for that one, it's not the furniture. You can make money off furniture sales. It's the fishing rods and the lures you want to be doing with that. Because there are a lot of players that will fish, and they need rods all the time because they all have basically durability usage. You can actually make quite a lot of stable income from making fishing rods and lures. Otherwise, though, if crafting is just not for you, and you want something simple, something you don't have to wait on to sell or vendor or compete with others that's going to undercut you, you can do fishing. If you can get to the max level of fishing right now, I have a tutorial guide for that in the tutorials channel. If you get to the maximum level, go to a specific fishing spot. Again, it's in my tutorial. Depending on how you devote to it, like you don't watch Netflix, you just focus on the fishing. Alright, you could literally make about $1 million gold or more an hour just from fishing. Best I've ever done, and this was like a very lucky day for me, I was able to make about 1.8 million gold in an hour fishing, because I kept pulling up king sizes back to back on 3 fishing trips I did that each took about 20 minutes each. Again, that was a lucky day. On average, I would be watching Netflix. I take breaks in between. I'll make about 600 to 800k an hour. You know, if I'm just fishing casually. But if I really went hardcore on it and I just focused on fishing, I could probably easily make about 1.2 to 1.4 mil an hour or so. And at this stage of the game, if you want to afford, like, the upper 10 percentile of equipment, you'll need at least maybe 15 million gold to get all the really good stuff, crafted custom stuff, which then you can use alchemy stones to make them better. But if you really want like the absolute high grade perfect stuff with the elemental resistance and such, you're gonna need about over 40 million or so gold. And again, you could grind that much through fishing and crafting. It just depends on how you go about it. Question number 5. Okay. Why would I choose a guardian over a paladin? Or a warrior? Ornamentalist and demon swordsman, aka Dark Knight, can use heavy armor too. What's the difference? Huh. Wasn't expecting... You've all seen me play all these different armored classes. Probably a warrior and ornamentalist lesser than the others, but yeah. Each heavy armor class is different. Right. The paladin has the most defensive stats. They get the most defense and yeah, the most HP, depending on how you built it, of the 5 heavy armor classes. Paladin is probably the simplest to play, because right now the current meta for Paladin is to use a spear, get to 200 skill on spear, preferably get a spear with deafness or crit rate on it, get some crit rate or deafness gloves, and just spam multi-thrust plus all day long. That's it. You can put up your invulnerabilities when necessary. When you get a special charge cast, you can increase your HP by like 500 and put on your invulnerabilities. In fact, a common tactic I see paladins do in the Garden 12-man raid boss fights is that they get the special charge buff during the dungeon gauntlet. In which case, with that and specific pieces of equipment, they will have special charge up almost all the time, and then they just spam their invertibility, making them immune to everything, and just keep spamming multi-thrust. And nothing kills them. If you want to be able to just make it simple, protect others, push enemies back, and just be a wall, that's what you use Paladin for. The problem, though, is Paladin's healing capability, despite they have heal spells, is extremely weak. They don't have anything better than mid-heal, and it's pointless to even use it. Unless you're under Care Prayer, but even with that, it's like a 300-point HP heal. With Tension up, it can become like 600 or so. But Paladins generally never use their heal, except outside of combat, to recover HP. Demon Swordmaster. Now, again, you're basically asking, why play any of these over Guardian? Again, you gotta understand, each one of them has a specific playstyle and what they are ideal at. Guardian is a combination of Warrior and Paladin abilities. So let's actually talk about Warrior next. Warrior, one of your first basic starting vocations, has gotten some buffs recently. They do pretty well with the sword and shield now. Pretty well with it. A lot of warriors, though, you will see them with the axe. The Great Axe. Reason being is because the Great Axe has some powerful debuffs on it that are pretty good. Warriors have pretty great weight as well. They don't get as much defense and HP as a Paladin or a Guardian, but they are a versatile vocation, able to be on the defensive or offensive, capitalizing on these debuffs to lower enemy attack or enemy defense, and so on. There's actually quite a few super boss strategies that relies on the warrior, though I've noticed that players have been taking in Restless Knights monsters, like my own, to do the debuffing instead, since the Restless Knights can also heal, and depending on how you configured it, they can use Kazing. They also have a lot of damage mitigation buffs as well, so I've been noticing that lately. Now you gotta keep in mind, a Guardian is a combination of the Paladin and Warrior classes. Be that as it may, a Guardian, they don't wall off enemies per se. They can, not as well as a Paladin could, but they can help with walling off enemies. But a Guardian's is their main thing is going from offense to defense to offense again. Their job is damage prevention. In which case, they use their party abilities to lower damage taken, as well as to reflect spells back via snub and bound around. And by reflecting, I mean if they have bound around on the party and the boss uses a spell of any kind that does damage, it'll reflect back and actually hit the boss. I've actually killed quite a few bosses that way. Pretty much as a Guardian, your task is to have Kabuff on everybody unless somebody else is doing it. Make sure you have Vital Recital on. You're basically like the tactician there. You switch to defensive to put on defensive buffs or anything needed to keep your party and yourself alive. And then when you feel the time is right, that's when you go on the offensive, lowering their light resistance and then applying light-based damaged attacks or multi-hit attacks. That's why many Guardians you see will use a sword and shield. Reason for that is, even though you could do more damage with a spear and Claymore, alright, you can still do quite a lot of damage close to those two weapons with a sword and shield, as designed. And once again, you get all those shield buffs as well with it. Because again, your job is to go from offense to defense depending on the situation. You can also throw heals if necessary as a guardian. Far better than what the paladin can. They're probably really the only heavy armor vocation that can throw decent heals, especially if you have care prayer going on and your pep state is up. Like my more heal, which typically does about 330 to 400 HP, completely unbuffed. Whenever I go into a pep state, it will greatly increase to 700 plus HP, which I've saved quite a few people with. And depending if I'm in a tension state, it can actually heal for well over 1200. Guardian is basically everything I wanted Paladin to be. But again, that is just that class's playstyle. Demon Swordmaster and Armamentalist, they can bear heavy armor as well. But a Demon Swordmaster, their prime focus, and they're still very highly usable. It's just that they rely on dark damage. There are quite a lot of enemies that resist dark damage, but it's negligible. Demon Swordmasters have the highest offense of the heavy armor wearers. So if you like wearing heavy armor, you want that extra defensive stats, and you want to do high damage, Demon Swordmaster's for you. Because not only do you have powerful single target abilities, you also got really good AoE abilities on a Demon Swordmaster as well. Especially once you have your special go out for it. You also get a movement speed increase when your special goes out, giving you a easier time avoiding stuff. One of the best things that a Demon Swordmaster has is their Disruptive Wave ability. Any one of you who've played Dragon Quest before knows what Disruptive Wave does. They're one of the few, I think two, maybe there's a third class now, that has this ability, which can be vital if you're fighting against something that loves to buff itself, and when they buff themselves, they're just too dangerous to leave alone. With Disruptive Wave, you can remove all that from them. And what that will make the boss do is they'll either just try to keep attacking without their buffs, making them a lot less dangerous, or they'll try to rebuff themselves again, wasting their turn, and thus you just Disruptive Wave again, and you just keep doing that, and the boss just keeps trying to buff himself while your other party members are attacking. Armamentalist always has a place in groups. I've seen him in super boss groups quite often too, and for that reason, it's because of the buffs that they can provide and the debuffs that they can do. Armamentalist is for those that want to be a support character to raise everybody else's offense, to do massive damage while being able to do a lot of their own. They're also great for particular bosses that likes to sap MP from your party members, because what you could do is you can basically give MP back. And if you have to, you can throw an MP item on yourself to then throw an MP move up to give everybody back MP. The other nice thing about Armamentalist is their Magic Burst special, because you have another special in play that, when used correctly, you can actually get 2 Magic Bursts off and still get your MP fully back. Magic Burst damage can be extremely high based on your current MP. That's why I've noticed quite a few Armamentalists will actually use passives and equipment that increases MP maximum. Basically, those are the differences between the heavy armor classes. Each one fits a particular playstyle, or has a better use in a certain situation. Me personally, I like my Guardian. I'm always on my Guardian. Question 6. What level should I worry about the attributes in my armor and weapons, and thus start upgrading them in Oh, I see. Okay. So, actually, quite a few other players asked me this one before. At this stage of the game, you should not worry about your stats until you get to at least a level 120. Now, it also depends on your vocation, because there are certain armor sets at even as low as 110 that players are still using, despite that there's level 125 armors out. They're basically sacrificing anywhere from around 50 to an additional 100 defense and secondary attribute stats, because certain armor sets give like agility, strength, deftness, stuff like that, and they're sacrificing anywhere from 15 to 30 of those extra stats just to wear that particular set due to the set bonuses that they have. So, depending on your main class and what you're trying to do with it, you may want the highest end armor possible, or you want a particular set. So, if it is the highest end armor possible, you do not want to basically waste gold or stones until you get to that highest level set. So, what you should be doing is getting armor sets from Zelmia Ruins just to be able to equip them and make use of them while you're leveling that character until you get to that particular level with your character, and that's when you start caring about getting the perfect stats on it, using alchemy stones on it, getting perfect resist, and so on. I normally outfit myself to have anywhere from 8 to 10 immunities of stats at a time. That's why a lot of players seem to recruit my character. It's because I have immunity to all these status ailments that they don't have to worry about on me. I also try to sneak in some elemental or breath resistances in there as well. I'm not sure how my Guardian acts in group play. I don't know if he uses snub on himself, if he detects magic casting enemies, or if he uses bound around, but people seem to recruit him for some reason. Yeah, that's my say on it. But if it is a specific set that is excellent for your particular vocation and what you're trying to do, you should pretty much go for that set, save up gold, buy that set with the particular stats it needs that you want, and either go for perfect stats on it that cost more gold, or go for stats that are cursed, basically have negative, and just fix it with alchemy stones, and that can save you a lot of money. You normally get alchemy stones from doing the daily subjugation, the weekly subjugation, certain other weekly quests that you'll find in version 5 and 6. I think there's one in 7 as well at some point. And so on. There's many ways to get these stones. And very often, during events, they're just given out for free. Another way is to do the whole Persona high school side content thing. I have a video series on that. And that awards you with these tickets that lets you purchase the current latest stone. You actually get a lot of them that way. I recommend doing that if you're a first-time player. Is Gadabout a bad job? Number 7. Ha! Wow, okay. Okay, Gadabout. So, as people know, those who are used to the old school Dragon Quest, Gadabout is the goof-off class as it was first known in the NES days, later known as Clown, or Playboy, or Bunny, or whatever they want to call it back then. Now it's just officially called Gadabout. I think Clarity called it Playboy for a short while back then. So, Gadabout. Initially, when it was first released, yes, it was a joke class. It was something for fun that people played. And that's why it doesn't even get training points. But there's a lore reason for that. The reason why I don't get training points is because Gadabouts don't believe in hard work and training. They believe about having fun. It's not a bad class in the slightest. In fact, it's very much wanted in 8 and 12 player content due to its ability to reduce a boss's defense to 0, enabling everybody to start wailing at it for 6,000 to 15,000 damage constantly for a good long duration. And it used to be for a while that only Gadabouts was able to do this, but now Rangers apparently can do it now too. But you don't see Rangers all that often. I mean, I've seen them every now and then. They do provide some really good immunity stats to certain elements from what I saw, particularly breaths. And you will see a Ranger for certain super boss strategies, but other than that, I don't really see them all that much. I know Gadabout is the main vocation of one of my officers, Obi. That's what he plays most often. But yes, over time, it became a very powerful vocation. It's just the whole randomness to it gets more... You're able to more control it at higher skill levels with the new abilities it was being able to get over time. So, and yet, yes, no, Gadabout is not a bad class. It's quite wanted in quite a few pieces of content. So, if you want to be a clown, go for it. Just remember that it does have a few restrictions, but it's negligible. Question 8. Do you think Yuji Horii has noticed a non-Japanese player population? Yes, he has. He's noticed it. He just has... I don't think he's said any word about it out in the public yet. Obviously, he knows about it. There's been news or articles of the whole Clarity mod being used. Japanese players have seen it. I've got Japanese players and people from Square Enix themselves that actually looks at my videos. There's absolutely no way Yuji Horii doesn't know about this. The thing is, okay, he is the creator. He doesn't really get say unless he really tasks them hard to. I mean, I don't think they could really say no to the guy unless they feel it's gonna bankrupt them. But if he wanted, he may have asked if they could just bring it over to West, because he did say at certain times he wished he could bring it to Dragon Quest X to the West in certain interviews. It's just, again, it's an over 10-year-old MMO. I don't have my hopes up of it coming West. I do have contingency plans in place if it did come West, and that I will only talk about with my officers if it actually happens. But to answer it, yes, Yuji Horii does know that we exist here. They know that there is a non-Japanese community, getting larger, in fact, playing DQX thanks to these tools. Does this game have PvP? Question 9. Yes, it does, actually. 2 forms of it from what so far I've seen. Again, I don't participate in that stuff. I mean, PvP in Dragon Quest just feels funny, but there is. There's actually one that's getting an event this month. I think it started. That PvP mode is a type of MOBA It's kind of like a MOBA mode, really. Pretty much it's a 3 teams free-for-all mode where each team has 5 players all on a specific team. You can pick between 5 different teams. Once you're in it, you can change at any time. It's just that's the team you represent. And during the whole battle season, which is happening now, once you pick a team, you got to represent it to the end of that season for you to get bonuses and such. That PvP mode, if you want to access it, there is a particular NPC in each of the minor towns. Okay, and by minor town, I mean Gillette, Castle Glentown, Katira, Aslan, Orphea. Each one has a representative of that race there, and I think they're typically near the inns most of the time, or taverns. But if you want to be able to quickly identify them, they are usually wearing some sort of crystal cape or clothing of some sort. You talk to them, they'll take you to the lobby area for it. The way that PvP works is your items and equipment doesn't matter. You get to pick. You will pick between 5 or 6 particular classes, and when you go in, you don't get battle commands at all. You're basically, you get like 3 particular commands assigned to your buttons, one of which you can only activate under special conditions, but they're like a basic attack or a special ability and such, and you have to physically go up to an opposing character or player to use that attack. Your job pretty much is to try to get the most points over the other team by collecting gems and bringing it to a captured gem point that you'll be tug-of-warring with the other 2 teams to capture. The more of you have, the more points you can get from turning in crystals and such. And every game, depending on if you're in first place, second place, or third, you get rewards for it, such as XP scrolls, MP pots, gold, straight up gold even, and certain other items. You also get experience points toward the class that you are using for it. Well, the special class for that PvP mode. Again, there's, I think, 5, maybe 6 of them. I think they actually put in a new one recently. And the higher you get in level of that particular class, I think it goes up to like 5, maybe 6 ranks. The stronger you are in the matches later on. So pretty much if you are like a rank 6 and you're fighting against somebody that's a rank 1 whatever, you'll likely 1 or 2 shot them. Because you get to start off with all this stuff. You also level up during a match, just like a MOBA. But again, you have a ranks, which is permanent stat boosts, and then you have the temporary levels in the MOBAs, in the match itself. You gain levels from turning in jewels or defeating players. It's a fun game type. It's just we're kind of at a disadvantage, especially those of us on the East Coast, because of the whole latency issue. Since even with my mega fast internet, I have a 200 to 250 millisecond ping to Japan, whereas those that are living on the West Coast, like in California or heck Hawaii, has anywhere from just a 80 to 100 millisecond ping. So West Coast players have a much easier time with Dragon Quest X and everything than East Coast like I do. The other PvP mode is straight up PvP. It's basically in the Coliseum. It's your party or group versus another party of players, randomly matched. I think you can do pre-mates, and your equipment, class, levels, and all that actually matters in it. I've heard that there are certain class combinations that are just ridiculously OP. Obviously, Flavor of the Month changes every time they do a rebalancing patch or something new comes out. New equipment and such. And that one gets contests and such too. those contests, if you manage to get in like the top 3 ranks or something, you get your character and your name represented in the next PvP cosmetic showcase, where it will show the new cosmetic armor rewards for reaching certain PvP ranks. Kind of like what Final Fantasy XIV does. But yeah, PvP does exist. I'm about running out of time here, so let's see. Number 10. Will you complete the My Town? Short answer, eventually. Long answer, I just need time because I have to buy a lot of certain things, and I got a vision for it. I'm just trying to complete things one at a time. It's just I've been very, very busy with my real life right now. I just have a lot of things I'm trying to do and get done, but I will get to it eventually. 11. What was DQX like during initial release? For the reports of players who actually played version 1 and 2 in complete Japanese on their Wii systems and eventually PC, it was a lot like... The game was made to be a lot like Final Fantasy XI. I can go into the reasons why they did it that way, but again, I'm running out of time here. I will tell you this. From what I was told, there was no support AI. Leveling took 10 times longer. There was no 3x hats. There were Genki Dama, aka bonus orbs. It's just, you couldn't get them as quickly as you can now. I think, like, it takes 3 hours for a 1 hour charge back then, compared to now where it's 1 to 1. There was Magic Maze, but there wasn't really liquid metal slimes and all that. There were boss medals, though. Generally, if players wanted to XP, they had to find 3 actual other players to group up with to then go out into the overworld to certain XP spots to level. And it was like this up until sometime around version 3, when they started making grand changes. But yeah, the game was a lot like Final Fantasy XI back then. Now it's more like Final Fantasy XIV. Anyways, that's all the time I've got. I will see you guys on the next video. Probably another question around. Wish I had more time, but I just got noticed of something. But yep, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.